Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Anna Middleton. Alongside me is Hunter Pickoff and David Green, looking at the landscape for the NBA post-All-Star break. So David, which Eastern Conference team set themselves up for success, or which one was the best amongst the top teams?
So the 76ers definitely, I think, set themselves up the best heading into the season towards the playoffs. As we know, they acquired Jimmy Butler, who is an excellent two-way NBA player, back in November. So he's been gelling with the team the last few months. They acquired Tobias Harris, who scores 17 points a game, and they're going to put him at the 4. That solves their power forward problem. They also acquired Mike Scott, who's a shooter that adds shooting on the bench. They also got Jonathan Simmons, that's more bench scoring. And they got James Ennis, who's another 3-and-D guy. So the Sixers have a lot more depth than they had before the trade deadline, and they also have a starting lineup where the shortest guy is 6'4", and they're not sacrificing shooting. So, yes, Sixers.
What about you, Hunter?
I'm going to look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, they didn't do too much. They weren't too busy at the trade deadline, but that man right there, Nikola Mirotic, I think solved all their problems. If you look at this whole team, their worst shooter is arguably the MVP of the league, and that's Giannis. If you look at their lineup, they got 2 stretch fives in DJ Wilson and Brook Lopez. You got multiple great wing shooters. You got Chris Starr, Mirotic, Ersan Ilyasova, and you got some great versatility defensively as well, which I think both have been the reason why the Bucks have been the top team in the Eastern Conference. And I think that acquisition of Mirotic will pay big dividends down the road because I put the Bucks over the top. They're already the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, and I think they're the favorites entering postseason play.
So David, did teams like Denver, OKC, Utah, San Antonio, Boston, or more make a mistake staying pat?
I would say that Boston made a mistake because the other 3 top teams in the East all got better with the trade deadline. Milwaukee got better, as Hunter just said. The 76ers clearly got better. And the Toronto Raptors are arguably better from last year, too, with Kawhi Leonard, and Siakam is probably going to be the most improved player. So Boston is looking exactly the same as they were before the trade deadline. I think everyone in the East is trying to take down Boston, and they're facing a lot of pressure here heading into the postseason.
Hunter, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go across the country with the Denver Nuggets. Yes, they are vying for a number 1 seed in the conference right now. That being said, outside the Warriors, they may be the best team, but not by a wide margin. It's a very young team. Paul Millsap, his durability has been a huge concern ever since he signed that huge contract with Denver. And also, they're not very good away from Pepsi Center. Best home record in the NBA. They're only tied for 8th in the entire NBA on the road. So this team much more inferior away from Pepsi Center. The lack of playoff experience, I think, is going to hurt them down the road. And it's also Mike Malone, head coach's first rodeo. Yes, he was the head coach for the All-Star team. He's done a great job in the regular season. But will these guys be able to compete with the top dogs come postseason play? And quality over quantity. We saw the Toronto Raptors. They basically shot themselves in the foot, not packaging and getting an upgrade. They did it with Marc Gasol and Kawhi Leonard. They learned from their mistake last year, but this year I feel like there's a lot of good players on the Nuggets, but not a lot of great players, and that may hurt them come April.
Now, David, in the Western Conference, what made the necessary moves to make the playoffs?
So I think the Dallas Mavericks, with their trade to the New York Knicks, acquiring obviously Kristaps Porzingis, he's not going to play until next year, but Courtney Lee brings shooting, and Dennis Smith Jr., he wasn't doing very much anyway this year with Luka Doncic showing out so far. And you cannot forget about Tim Hardaway Jr. They did lose Harrison Barnes, so I think Hardaway is going to be like a perfect substitution for him as far as scoring per game, about 17, 18 points a game. So Dallas has a shot at making it this year, but I think that they're going to be a dynasty in the future. They have Rick Carlisle, he knows what it takes to win a championship, and as you can see, they have 2 future superstars.
And Hunter, who do you have in the Western Conference?
I'm going with the Sacramento Kings. I can't believe I'm saying this. They seem to just mess up every single trade. They're the loser in every single free agency. But Vlade Divac really turned this thing around. They did trade DeMarcus Cousins, but they got maybe one of the best shooters, one of the best rising stars in the league in Buddy Hield. And then later that year drafted De'Aaron Fox, who has shown remarkable improvements from year 1 to year 2. Marvin Bagley III hasn't got too much burn yet, but I think you're going to see his role increase. He had a career-high 32 points right before the All-Star break. And then alluded to before, the Mavericks did make a trade. The guy who they got in return being Sacramento, Harrison Barnes, he's a solid 17 to 20 points per game scorer, fills a huge void at the forward position to pair with a guy like Marvin Bagley. And also, he was on the Warriors that first time they won the championship, so he has that championship pedigree. He also played at UNC, played in the Final Four there as well. And I think all the small acquisitions are playing big dividends for the Kings for a team that may shockingly make the playoffs.
Alrighty, that's all we have for the NBA Rundown. For Hunter Pickoff, David Green, I'm Anna Middleton. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.